Welcome back. We're here for another Who Dat. Just a little bit of an update. We're going to try to finish out the rest of this 2021 class before the start of the football season that we haven't covered. There's about 7, 8 guys we haven't covered. This one is going to be over Caleb Williams. If you hadn't already, make sure to subscribe and like this video and any other video you watch of us. It really lets us know that you like it and keeps you up to date on when we release new stuff. Typically 2 to 3 videos a week. So definitely hit that subscribe button and even notifications if you like to know whenever we exactly post it. So not a whole lot to talk before we get into it. Obviously Caleb Williams, which I think everyone has heard of him and knows of him. If you don't, you probably live under a rock at this point if you're a Sooner fan. He's the number 7 overall kid and the number 2 quarterback in the 2020 2021 class. He played at Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C. So another DMV guy that the Sooners have been really growing their roots there. And obviously his senior year was canceled due to the pandemic. He didn't play. His junior season, he had 1,770 yards and 19 touchdowns. That was throwing, and he rushed for 838 yards and 18 touchdowns. So a dual threat guy with 37 total touchdowns his junior year. His sophomore year, he was named Gatorade District of Columbia Football Player of the Year and Max Prep Sophomore All-American in 2018. And he passed for just a hair over 2,600 yards and threw for 26 touchdowns. I mean, the kid had offers to literally anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere he wanted to go, he could talk to him and they would take him. I mean, there's no way you turn a guy like that around. Obviously, Alabama, Clemson, Florida, LSU, all those schools. And his recruitment was a little interesting. I don't know, this one's a little bit further back and down memory lane, but for a while there, the Sooners landed a commitment from Brock Vandagriff, which he was like the number 2, 3, Caleb's number 2, and he might have been 3 or 1. I don't know, somewhere in that around there. And Brock jumped onto the train of the Sooners. And I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he committed in early 2020, somewhere around there. It was a long ways away. And so he committed, and obviously Lincoln's philosophy, if you hadn't already noticed, is he identifies one guy in one class of odd years, it seems like, that he wants, and he only focuses on them until he probably realizes either he's going to get a commitment or the kid's going elsewhere, and then he moves on and offers someone else. So his big deal was he identified Brock Vandagriff as the first guy. Well, got a commitment out of him. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like Vandagriff started getting some cold feet. He's from Georgia, and he wanted to be closer to family. It was a far trip for him. And I remember reading some articles or watching an interview of him saying that he knows that Oklahoma was the best situation, the best place for him to go. But the issue was the distance. So he acknowledged that Oklahoma was going to be his best option football-wise. Now, he obviously is now a Bulldog. Georgia is a great program, and he's probably not going to struggle after JT Daniels leaves in the next year or two, or however much longer he's going to be there. But, Caleb Williams and Brock Vandagriff are now linked together. And once Vandagriff decommitted from the Sooners, it was not long after he committed to the Bulldogs. Immediately the Sooners offered Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley have always had that constant communication. And Williams actually visited the campus once or twice before even getting an offer, and left without an offer, which is, most schools would never think to do that for a guy like him. But Lincoln is true to his word, and I think that means something. And obviously once Vandagriff decommitted, I think I remember it was like within the next day or two, he offered Caleb Williams, and it seemed not long after he was going to be a Sooner. It came down to between the Sooners and LSU, and it just seemed like he made the right decision as now a Sooner, obviously. So that was a lot. But anyone that didn't know about that, it was Vandagriff first, then Williams. But I think the better overall player with further development is Williams, at least at the high school level. So, Brandon, do you want to lead us off with what we're
Yeah.
getting?
So
Obviously, a
now
fantastic player, but what do you
Brock
think?
Vandagriff sucks. Caleb Williams is good. That's pretty much what's going on. But no, in all seriousness, it's very nice to know that as long as Lincoln Riley is the head coach, the leader of this team, we're never going to have to worry about landing somebody who's just stupid at quarterback. Um, you look at Caleb Williams, I think he has every capability to win the Heisman, following Baker and Kyler's shoes. I think there's a very good chance Spencer Rattler wins this year. So I mean, it'd just be really cool to see it go. Bay K1, Jalen Hurts finishes a runner up, Spencer gets one, and then Caleb Williams is next in line. I mean, there's big shoes to fill in that Oklahoma quarterback. In recent years, with our worst quarterback in the last 3-4 years finishing second in the Heisman race in his best year as a Sooner, and Spencer, had a little bit of those freshman struggles and then turned it on late. I mean, turned it on not even late, but about the OU Texas game, really got benched, came back in, turned it on, never looked back. Dominated the rest of the season. So he's going to keep that stride going into this year. But yeah, Caleb, you mentioned just the dual threat. I think he's got to be the best dual threat we've had since Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be a little bit better dual threat than Jalen Hurts was, although Jalen Hurts was also a dual threat. Really excited to see what he can do in this offense, especially with that the class, the talent he's going to have around him.
Definitely. Jose, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I pretty much the exact same thing as Brandon. Every time I think of Caleb Williams, I just think of Superman, just because that's what his nickname is on every social media platform. And just Superman's in the building. That Kenny Smith little GIF always replays in my head. So it'll be fun to see all the social media stuff that comes up once he's the quarterback for the Sooners. But we're just quickly going back to Brock. With what we know now that OU is going to be in the SEC, he probably feels like he regrets that decision a little bit more because, like you said, he acknowledges the fact that Oklahoma was a better spot. And if he'll get to go home every once in a while to go play his hometown team, probably looks back and thinks, even though he didn't know, obviously no one knew this was possible, probably something he would have, that decision probably wouldn't have happened of decommitting. But talking about Caleb, this kid has the potential to be one of the best Oklahoma quarterbacks because his arm talent is there. And like Brandon said, he's probably the best dual threat that we've had since Kyler. And really, the quarterbacks from Kyler to now have all been very similar builds. We have a type, like we said with every other position, we have a type of quarterback that Lincoln likes. A guy that's got a great arm and that can make a play and off script. Baker was able to, but he's kind of different. It was just kind of like the Baker attitude, the swagger, his essence. He was different than every quarterback that we've had since him. But Lincoln obviously knows what he's doing, and these guys are going to be great. And Caleb I think he is very likely to win a Heisman as long as Lincoln is the play caller. And he's got a very bright future ahead of him, and hopefully he's another number one pick in the NFL, like Baker and Kyler.
And likely to be Spencer.
Yep.
But if he puts it all together this year, there's no doubt that he's going to the Houston Texans next year.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Caleb's his potential is endless. I mean, it just depends on how hard he works. And speaking of how hard he works, and I think Spencer Rattler might be a little bit more of a natural thrower and has a better arm because Rattler's got one of the best arms and being able to just throw from any position, throw it 50 yards on a rope. I think Williams, where he's different, and not saying that Spencer, isn't this way. I think Williams is a little more mentally, he's more humble, and he doesn't need that extra motivation like Spencer Rattler plays with an edge and Baker play with an edge, but Kyler was pretty quiet. So it's everyone's guy, or everyone's kind of deal. But I think Williams is a little bit of a harder worker because he's not quite as natural. I mean, it's still incredible what he can do. I think he could end up being the better of all these quarterbacks, even better than Rattler in long term. I mean, just because of his running ability, that dual threat. And he will probably be in the system. Now, I mean, obviously he's this year, he'll be most likely, obviously, sitting on the bench, barring an injury. And then if Spencer's gone, he's probably going to play a couple years, in the system. And by year 2, he's probably going to be tearing it up like Spencer's going to.
You can't say that, my boy. Spencer's going to be the OU GOAT. I've been telling Hose that for a minute. I'm still on that. I'm a huge. You can't talk shit on Spence.
I'm not saying anything bad with him, because I think he's going to, he could win a national title for the Sooners. I just think that the longer that Caleb's going to be in the system, the better the talent is going to be surrounded around him. Everywhere is going to get better over the next couple years, better than Spencer had, both sides of the ball. I think he could just have a better career as a Sooner. I'm not saying better in the NFL, but it's a testament. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but for some of the things I've been reading about him and Spencer competing in for this quarterback position. Obviously, we all know that there's really no true quarterback controversy or anything like that. I remember people firing off articles saying after the spring game, "Oh my gosh, is Caleb Williams going to be the starter?" Caleb Williams will only be the starter this year because of some sort of injury or something crazy happened between now and the end of the season. But I think Williams has come into the season with the mindset of like, I'm going to compete for this job. I'm not going to concede, because I think they're all really good competitors. It's just that Rattler shows it one way, Williams shows it another way. Williams doesn't really show it, but I think he's a huge competitor. And I think that's what Lincoln really looks for, is obviously your talent, but is the competitor in you. And anyone that comes in and concedes, like, I'm going to be the backup, it's fine. That's not our guy. And I think that's something that's been consistent in every quarterback that's come through.
There's no doubt. And we've mentioned a couple of times now about Kyler and Jalen kind of being the quieter. Yeah, media-wise, they humble, soft-spoken, didn't really, they didn't go out on Baker Mayfield tangents, or Spencer, just kind of carry that way, or even on the football field, like with their actions. But, like, we're not on the field. I have a good feeling that Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts have that exact same dog in them that Baker had and that Spencer has. And they were probably saying it on the football field to opposing defenses. They're just not. I don't know if they don't need to bring all that attention to them with the antics, planting flags or.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right.
Stuff like that. But I feel like on the field they have that exact same dog in them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, if you want to be playing the best, you have some sort of dog. I just think that Williams, that's not his motivation. And I just think, what I'm trying to get to is, because he doesn't play with that edge or that visual edge that everyone sees Rattler, that doesn't mean he's not a competitor, because his competitor, like how competitive he is coming into this. And I think he truly believes that he's competing for the starting position. I mean, as a true freshman, and he seems to be turning heads. And I think the future's bright, and there's no reason for him to not be a number 1 pick in the future.
Definitely. And outside of his competitiveness, the belief he has in what's being built in Norman is obviously it's there, it's present. You can see it when he's on Twitter. When he was still in high school, he was the guy that was recruiting pretty much. He was Lincoln's right-hand man in recruiting all his recruiting class. He wanted to make sure that he was able to show that the guys that did end up coming with him, why OU was the best decision for them. And he was going to make it clear on social media. I'm sure if anyone asked him, he was very tactical with what he said. And he's probably in love with Lincoln and the program that he's built there, and he probably loves Norman. I'm pretty sure his parents moved to Norman with him.
Yeah.
So like this is a place that he sees himself not just playing football in, but obviously this is a place where him and his family are very comfortable in, and that kind of speaks to not just Lincoln, but what is being built as a whole with the coaching staff, with the players that he has in the program. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things, with Caleb specifically, obviously, but with the coming classes. I think Malachi and Trayon have mentioned it for their 2023 class that we always mention, but Caleb was, I think, the first guy to do it, in the catalyst for where we are going in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this 2023 class is going to be crazy, and pairing him up with Caleb Williams, that's been in the system now. He was there this spring or enrolled in January. He's going to have a full year Spencer most likely is going to be gone. He's going to take over the reins next fall, potentially in the SEC. I don't know. SEC in 2023. I think he'll be playing some SEC football at least one season. I just think he's bought into the program. And Jose, you brought up a very good point. He recruited hard. And I think we're going to see that more and more as we go further, into future recruiting classes. I think that's what's happening with Malachi Nelson. I think Caleb Williams, maybe this has happened before, but I feel like he was one of the first quarterbacks that had kind of started plucking guys and pulling guys all together and be like, we should all play together. Like him and Mario Williams were boys. And I know he was working hard on Emeka Egbuka that went to Ohio State, and he was close with him, close to being a Sooner. I think that was like the first time, hey, come play with me. At least we could see vision, from the outside looking in. And I think that's what's happening with Malachi Nelson. He's pulling all these guys in with him. And I think we're going to see it more and more, and it's only going to get better for the Sooners from here. But Caleb Williams, 2023, 2024, somewhere around that, in that range. Oh, 2022, 2023. Yeah, 22 and 23.
And hopefully he leaves Norman with a couple of national championships, one this upcoming season and one that he actually gets to play for.
That would be the dream.
It would be pretty cool if he was a Big 12 champion, national champion, and an SEC champion. I mean, I wouldn't be too bad either.
Whole handful of rings before he even gets to the NFL.
Yeah,
we're in good hands though. It's going to be good times.
Yeah, there's only good things we can say about him. I just really like his scrambling ability. It adds a whole different dynamic to the Riley offense. Not that Spencer can't scramble, but Caleb Williams is awesome with his legs. So
I wonder if we'll see him in the way that we saw Kyler Baker's last year. Kyler came in maybe like a handful of plays just to run the ball. He kind of played the Wildcat scheme where he was a threat to pass. I think he passed it like 2 or 3 times, but you knew when he was on the field, he was just going to take off.
Yeah, and you think about it. I mean, Riley's definitely got those gadget plays because remember in the Big 12 title game, brought in Chandler Morris. Yeah, it was against Iowa State. I think he did that in the past year. Chandler Morris came in and scored a touchdown. So the plays are there. We might see him on like a, double pass or something like that. I don't know. He might see the field just enough for 4 games, keep his red shirt, and move on with that.
No reason he can't play the Western Carolina game, a couple snaps. Nebraska, a couple snaps. Tulane, a couple snaps.
Yeah,
Spencer did. He came in against South Dakota State and tore them apart.
That is true. He did do that. And he threw his first touchdown. I think it was his first one to Trajan Bridges. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's all I've got on him. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this up? I don't think anything we said is a shock to people that have been watching this, and I think we all can agree that Williams is going to be a terrific quarterback. So, all righty, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. If you hadn't already, check out yesterday's podcast. We talked about a couple recent commits, Makai Lemon and Luke Haas, and another commit that could be coming out tomorrow, Joshua Bates. And it'll be something to definitely be watching. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you think about Caleb Williams and what you think his ceiling is. So we'll release another Whodat next week, or probably 2 next week to finish out this recruiting class. If you have any suggestions or any requests, let us know. So, all right, appreciate it.